Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV. Welcome to the Tactical Insight Show. Arsenal drew with Fulham 2-2. Disappointing to have our first show where we don't have a win to talk about, but lots to explore, and I think a lot of very important discussions to have and important things to analyse to understand what's going wrong with Arsenal. There's been a lot of debate over the last 2 days on Twitter. Is it about the players and the personnel? Is it Arteta and his tactics? Is it just simple errors? Is it that sometimes things just don't go your way in football? You can dominate a game, but things can happen out of nothing. Goals can happen out of nothing. We're going to try and explore all that, and I'm here with Graham, of course. Graham, it's a shame we didn't get the win. There were positives from the game, but I think there was more frustration because I think fans felt a sense of, I knew it. I knew this 11 would work. I knew Havertz wouldn't work. I knew Partey wasn't a right back, and it's left a lot of frustrated fans feeling like there's just a missed opportunity here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, James. I think the takeout from Saturday's performance was that Arsenal became the first team in Premier League history to concede a goal 3 times in the first minute of a game in a single calendar year. In fact, Arsenal have now conceded first minute goal in 3 of their last 9 home games. We're sleeping when we start games. I don't know whether it's the players, whether it's the manager, but we're conceding goals at the start of the game. And when you concede a goal at the start of the game, you give yourself a mountain to climb. Arsenal did rally, but trailing 1-0 at half-time, Arteta didn't beat around the bush, did he? He hooked Trossard straight away, Nketiah came on, then he brought on Vieira and Nketiah, who all had positive impacts on the game. And we got 2-1 ahead in the game, but then another sloppy goal conceded right at the end cost us 3 points. Arteta said after the game that the performance was much improved on the Fulham game this time last year, but the reality was the performance might have been improved, but the result was not, and unfortunately it was 2 points dropped. Yeah,
I agree. We're going to go through the stats as we always do. We had 9 of our 17 shots on target to Fulham's 3 out of 9. We had 71% of the ball. We are having a lot of possession in games right now. 623 passes to their 202, and an XG of 3.26 to theirs of 0.56. The attacking stats also very favourable and looking good for Arsenal. 77 final third entries to Fulham's 27, 76 deep touches to 10, 45 zone 14 touches to 6, and an 88% field tilt in favour of Arsenal. The defensive stats look impressive too. 13 tackles to their 18, 4 interceptions to their 7, 11 clearances to their 38, and I say impressive because look at the amount of defending they had to do, and a 6.4 passes per defensive action to their 34.7 as well. The metrics look great. We're actually going to explore that in bigger detail a little bit later when we kind of understand what the real problems are. But Arsenal just, on that front, did fine. But the big numbers that matter, well, how many goals did you score? How many did you get? I remember Sean Dyche once saying, the job is put it in their net and stop it going in your net. And that's where Arsenal have kind of, for all their dominance, which we're going to illustrate later in the show, they're only scored 5 goals this season. They've conceded 3. That's not great for how much we're dominating in all these other statistics.
I think offensively we had all the great numbers, didn't we? All the attacking stats massively in favour of Arsenal. I think when you concede a goal early on, it does sort of throw the team slightly. And that enables Fulham to defend deep. And what we're now finding, this is the second game running, as I'm going to be talking about in my tactical breakdown today, where we've played a team, we've been in our 4-3-3 shape, they've been in a 4-2-3-1 shape, but they've shifted to a 4-4-2 out of possession. And what that does in effect is it means that they can defend deep and they can cover the wide areas. They block the middle of the pitch quite well, and they get their players across to block the wide areas. So for example, in this game, as we're going to explore shortly, Saka and Odegaard on our right-hand side, which is our key side, which is our side where last season was the strength of the side. When they defend in a 4-4-2 and we haven't got, for example, Benjamin White going high to provide the outlet outside Saka, you've literally got what you were finding on Saturday was they were defending with 4 against Odegaard and Saka. They literally had Bassi coming across to support the fullback Robinson, who Saka would like to be one-on-one with. He always had his centre-half colleague pushing across to help him. And then you had the 2 midfielders, Reed and Paulinho, also coming across into that space. Arsenal had Odegaard underlapping, sometimes overlapping, but it was always a 4v2. So in effect, we struggled to unlock them. So teams are now going to defend really deep against us. And I think this 4-4-2 shape is a way, the system that Arteta's playing is enabling teams to stop us from actually scoring. And I think we're going to explore that now.
Yeah, we are. And there's two things you want to talk about the shape. Firstly, it's actually kind of how it caught us cold with the goal. So, okay, you've got the 2-11s here. Yeah, Partey right back frustrating. Kivior's come in because Tomiyasu suspended. Timber's injured. No place for Gabriel. Still Havertz keeps his place. And then we do the usual thing of popping them into their shape. And here we go. Okay, you have the 3-2-5. It's Partey coming out. I'm going to hold my hands up, everyone. I was guilty of saying after we beat Forest that it's not that different. Everyone's saying this new system. I'm right and I'm wrong. I'm right in saying it's not that different because ultimately, like I said, White, Saliba playing in similar areas, Partey inverts, it shouldn't change too much. But it does actually change quite a lot in terms of the balance and the combinations. Hold that thought and I'll explain that in a sec. But you wanted to talk about where things kind of go wrong at the beginning with the goal. And if we just move everyone along here and give Saka the ball, where has this gone wrong, Graham?
Well, where it's gone wrong, I think, is that Partey is inverted and then White has pushed out. And I think what we saw on Saturday, I thought Saka made a bit of a blind pass. Yeah. Because I think familiarity is very important in football teams. We've changed the dynamic of how we build up. That inversion from the right instead of the left has had a massive impact, I think, in the way the team plays, in the familiarity with the way that the players are positioning themselves and expect the ball. So what you found here is when we work it out to Saka on the right-hand side, White has come out from his centre-half position. Obviously, we're in build-up now. We're building up in our 3-2-5. They've got back in their 4-4-2. They've got their two players pressing from the front, and they've now got their shape. They've got a 4-4-2. And Saka now has got the ball. What he would normally be used to would be he would have a right back, not inverted, to play to, or even a right centre-back he could play it back to. Because White has come out from the right centre-back position, and because Partey is inverted, I think mentally he's sort of like played a blind pass, not realised there's a massive gap there. And if you play it through, he just plays it through to Pereira, who's made the run. And there's a massive gap there. And
Partey had actually slotted into centre-back for a second and then moved forward because that's what he's meant to do. He's meant to... So the answer... So the question is, there's kind of a load of mistakes. Saka for the blind pass, but I think you're right about familiarity to a degree, but still poor from early in the game. Ramsdale, because I think he scrambles on the goal. I think he looks poor. But then there's other things. Does White come out too far? Does Partey not hold his shape and go into midfield too quickly? Or should actually Saliba and Kivior have come across? Because if White's come across as a 3, you will shift.
I think they're caught out by the speed of how it happens, the team, and the unfamiliarity of it. What I would say is if Partey's inverting, I don't think White should come out. As simple as that. White should hold his position. But I think this is the problem when you've got a change with the inversion from the right. That players just not familiar with where they got to go at the start of a game and they're not into the game. And it led to the error. It was much more fluid last year when Zinchenko was inverting from the left, White was on the right, and Saliba, who was the right centre-back next to Gabriel, held his position. And I think if that had been the shape on Saturday, when Saka plays that ball back, because presumably he sees that he's being blocked off, we've got players in the right positions on that right-hand side to do it. So I think defensively, this is a point I want to make today, by moving to the inversion with from the left side to the right, it led to this mistake and it led to this openness on that side.
And it also led to what you were illustrating earlier, which is this position where Saka's just... You know, he's outnumbered, it's a 4. Partey's not offering the same support there that maybe Zinchenko would when he inverts. I really want to touch on that point in a sec.
Yeah, and I think this, offensively, this is where we struggled on Saturday because what they've done in this 4-4-2 shape is they know that our right-hand side is our strength. They know Odegaard and Saka with the connections is big for the way Arsenal build up. They tactically decided to sort of like make sure Robinson's never 1v1 with Saka. So he gets out, you've got the Batty pushing across, and then you've got the defensive midfielder Paulinho, and you've got Reed coming across. So Fulham now got a 4v2. What Arsenal don't have, what they normally have, is Benjamin White. He would come up to support the attack. So if you had an underlapping run, someone was he would go on the outside of Saka, and Odegaard could underlap, or Saka could come underlap inside and Odegaard could go outside. But you've got a 3 there. But also, if Partey was playing on the right side of midfield, he would draw away, I think, one of their midfielders. So it would be more of a 3v3, and Saka might have an opportunity on 1v1. As it was, Arsenal struggled in build-up because they had 4 against 2 on that side, because White is not playing as an out-and-out right-back who can get forward and support the attack. What that meant, I noticed in the first half, was where we were struggling to create on that right-hand side because they blocked it off and they had defensive cover. We were switching it a lot from right to left. And on the left-hand side, Kivor doesn't get up, James. Kivor does not go up. He's a defender. That's not his skill set. And then what you had in effect was, you had Havertz was underlapping, trying to underlap. Martinelli and Trossard were sort of like interchanging. So Martinelli was out wide and Trossard was in the number 9, or Trossard would go out wide and Martinelli would come in to the number 9 position. But the only thing that we managed to sort of like create on that side was, because they defended really well on that side, we were then resorting to sort of putting in crosses into the box from that side, trying to create overload. So if you can get Odegaard and Saka moving into the box on the tactical pad there, if you move them in. So what we were trying to do was Saka coming in as well, and he had that headed chance. We were then trying to switch it from right to left, and 50% of our play in that first half came down our left-hand side, only 38% down our right-hand side. And we were like putting crosses in, Martinelli or Havertz or Trossard or were singing crosses in, and we were trying to get an overload on the back stick, and it worked once where Saka, well, a couple of times actually, where Saka got a header, he should have done better, and another opportunity where he hooked it back and Havertz couldn't make the most of it. But ultimately, right-hand side for me, when we're playing with no inversion from the left and we're inverting from the right, we take away our strength on our right-hand side. We're sleeping on what is the best thing in this team, James, our right-hand side.
Yeah, and I think it's, and I was touching it earlier and you sort of made a lot of points on it, I think sort of alluding to what I'm about to say, but when we talk about, and like I said, I'm guilty of this, of saying it's not that different to how we've been playing, you know, ultimately it's just Partey inverting, the back 3 should look similar. Where it is different though, is that the combinations and the understanding throughout the team isn't also flipped. So where it was, for example, Zinchenko at left back, he would step forward. So we've got Kivor. Actually, that's not the way to explain it. Okay, let's explain it like this. So Partey is the right back, but he inverts in the way Zinchenko was. But Zinchenko had Xhaka in front of him. So while he was sort of playmaking from deep, Odegaard, who's not Xhaka and isn't replicating what Xhaka was doing, there was a box-to-box runner that would make for the space, that would take players away. So actually, it hasn't flipped because you've now got 2 creators in Odegaard and Partey down that side. The other thing Zinchenko, I think, really reminded me of when he came on was how often, yes, he inverted and tried to control, how often he went around the outside to give a different option, get balls into the box, come inside, pick up pockets, actually hold the width and mix things up. Partey doesn't understand that as well as Zinchenko. On the other side, you know, we talk about Martinelli, he's not had the best start to the season. Ben White was overlapping. Kivior's not doing that. You touched on that just now. Kivior isn't doing what Ben White was doing on the side, so it hasn't completely flipped. They're not, it's all slightly different, and Havertz is certainly not controlling and dictating and creating the way Odegaard was. In fact, he seems to always be playing on the shoulder, waiting for a ball in behind, or actually allowing everyone else to do the playmaking till he can get forward. So there are actually a lot of, even though it's still the 3-2-5, 3-2-5, 3-4-1, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, it's not the same as last year. And the more I've seen it, the more I'm starting to realise actually you can't just say, oh, they've just swapped the inverted fullbacks and it's all meant to work the same way.
Yeah, it was much more fluid and fluent in the second half. You saw the changes immediately when Nketiah came on, offered us down the middle something that Trossard couldn't. That was. He gave us the long ball option. We could play long, and we could. The moment he came on, the first thing he did, he laid it off to Martinelli, and the crowd purred straight away because there was connection straight away. He could sort of like receive the ball and stretch him, right? But the key change was when he brought on Vieira and Zinchenko. As you quite rightly said, Zinchenko not only got high on and offered width, he was sort of like breaking lines with passes. It was more penetrative, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was more brave as well on the ball with Vieira, for example, in Havertz's role. It just looked better. It looked more fluent. So you had the 3 at the back, the 3 defenders at the back, and then you had Zinchenko inverting, then you had Vieira in the wide or the left centre mid position. And it looked altogether more fluid, didn't it? Inverting from that side. And all of a sudden in that last 30 minutes, we suddenly started looking really dangerous.
But this is why we have to ask ourselves the question, I think. Is this a system issue or is this a player issue? The reason, let me just go through some stats for you, because
I think it's both.
I think it is both. And before everyone gets on me, I'm just providing the evidence. Then we'll tell you what we think. So don't think that I'm sort of trying to build an argument too early here. But Arsenal's XG against Fulham, and Arteta touched on our performance being better this year than it was last year. Very similar times of the season, very similar occasions. The XG, as you can see here, 2.73 last year to their 0.83. This year, 3.26, there's 0.56. Slightly skewed by the penalty, but still. Let me show you some of these combined stats from Arsenal's first 3 games. Go back to the match stats that we do early on in the show. We've had 46 shots to the opposition's 29. We've had 68% possession to their 32%, an XG of 6.07. Of course, we've scored 5 goals. To their XG of 2.55, they've scored 3 goals. They've slightly outscored their XG, we've underscored it. A field tilt of 73%. And then we've got this from Scott Willis. His at is there on the, for Twitter, or X, shall I say, on the graphic, and of course this comes from Cannon Stats as well. He's making the point here with these numbers in this graphic that our XG, our shots on target, our field tilt, deep touches and progressive carries were better in this game against Fulham than they were in the previous 2 Premier League games, and some of them quite significantly better as well. So I think the question is, when you look at all that, and actually let me just show you one more graphic as well, which is this. The goals conceded at home in the first minute. And you sent me this stat, I couldn't believe it, Graham. Well done digging this up, I don't know how you did it. Arsenal conceded 2 goals in the first minute of games between August 1992 and 30 years later, February 2023, to March 2023 to present. We've conceded 3, and you've got the 3 goals we've conceded there. So my question is, the metrics look good, the numbers, all that, the XG, and you're seeing how many goals we're conceding in the first minute. Is this, I'm not saying we're looking brilliant, because the eye test tells me we don't look fluid, we don't look brilliant, but the numbers tell me we look better than I think we look. So what's the problem? Is it just player errors and not executing it?
It's partly player errors, isn't it? Because we've given away bad goals this season. But I think it's more than that. I think going back to those excellent numbers you provided by Scott Willis, and he is right, there is improvement from the Nottingham Forest game to the Fulham game, all right? But you'd expect there to be improvement, wouldn't you? If you're playing the same system, it's got to improve, isn't it?
Yeah,
no matter whether it works or not, it's going to get better.
And if you're 1-0 down, some of those attacking
numbers. Yeah, of course.
And
I think that Forest are a slightly stronger side than Fulham, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think Forest are,
I think Fulham are better.
Well, I thought Forest, for example, on Saturday were unlucky at Man United, for example.
Yeah, okay.
And there's not much between them.
Sure.
Let's just sort of hate to disagree, agree to disagree on that. But it's very little in it. So, but you would expect some improvement. The problem is with this is, yes, we've improved on that side, but it's not still the best way we play, in my opinion. We are better when Zinchenko, or we invert from the left, because the strength of our right-hand side. Our right-hand side is White, Partey, Odegaard, Saka. That was the strength last season, and we are sleeping on this. I can understand why he went with it at the start of the season, because Zinchenko was injured. He had to find a solution, and he found it last year when Zinchenko was injured, when he played Partey at Forest and we lost 1-0. So it didn't really work there, did it either? But I think as much as it has improved, and as much as we are dominating games, and in these sort of games, I said it myself over the weekend when I was discussing it with a friend of mine, what we lack is a clinical finisher. When we're in these sort of games, we haven't got what Man City have got. Eddie's been okay this season. He's 2 goals in 3 games, pretty good return. He looks lively, and he was good on Saturday when he came up, took his chance.
Very good, yeah.
But they've got Erling Haaland, and these sort of games when teams are sitting in this low block, if you've got you just need to win these games. You've just got to take your chances. And when you've got a clinical finisher, which we haven't got, have we? We haven't got what I would call a clinical finisher. And I thought, we got Jesus and Havertz, whose their numbers show that they're not clinical finishers. Eddie is okay, but not at the level of Haaland. And you remember, we're trying to compete with Man City for the Premier League. And I'm not disrespecting other clubs, because Liverpool are getting stronger this year, Man United are going to get stronger, Chelsea look better. So there's other clubs coming into the fore. I nearly said Tottenham there. But anyway.
Credit where it's due, I suppose.
But the point being, we haven't got, what I'm saying is a natural finisher. But what we had last year, and the reason why we were able to spread goals across the team, is we had this very fluent way of playing, and it was the right-hand side was our strength. And I think that's what we're missing this season. So the numbers look great, the eye test doesn't, for the simple reason we haven't got that fluidity, I think, in the touch.
Well, that's the question to everyone in the comment section. Eye test or stats? You know, what do you put more stock in? Is it what you're seeing? You know, sometimes, and both can be skewed. Stats can be skewed by the game state, by, you know, if you have 100 shots and they all have an XG value of 0.1, you know, you're going to accumulate an XG of 10. That might be, I think that's the right maths. Tell me if I'm wrong. But my point is, that doesn't mean you should have scored all those chances. So stats can be skewed in some ways. The eye test can be skewed through stress and emotion of watching a game. So my question to everyone is, are Arsenal playing a bit better than we think? Because that's the other thing. We've accumulated, according to Understat, the lowest XG against in the league so far this season. And yet, we've conceded really silly goals, and I watch Arsenal, and my eyes are telling me we don't look that easy to score against. You know, in terms of like teams aren't having loads of chances and all that. We just give them the stupidest goals, and it really winds me up.
On the XG, James, we did have the highest XG over the weekend. Who's the best player on the Arsenal side for you?
Saka. Odegaard, yeah.
Saka. He played his 83rd consecutive game in the Premier League on Saturday.
Yeah.
Set the new record. How has he been performing for you in these first few games?
Yeah, not great.
Why do you think he's not been quite at his normal level? Why?
Because of the changes in the team.
The changes in the team, and also the opposition are recognising his threat.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're always recognising him as a threat. He's always up against two.
Yeah.
And that he's always going to be faced with that. But what we're now finding is that they're doubling up, you know, 4 across in that area. So the fact is, for me, we need this right hand side back, regardless of what, you know, the fact that I understand why he had to do it. Zinchenko now, to me, looks close back to fitness. We've got Man United next week, and if we play Partey at right back, they've had a stroke of luck actually. Mason Mount has got injured, and so they've moved Fernandes further forward, and Rashford now has come back out to his favourite left-hand side. He's going to be in that channel next week. Would you rather have Partey at right back or White at right back?
Yeah, White, although he struggled against
him last time. And would you rather have Partey going forward or inverting or trying to offer an outlet on the right hand side? Or would you rather have White trying to go up high against if they play Dali at left back? You know, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. And also that unlocks Saka.
Yeah.
It gives him the opportunity then to make an influence on games and win us games.
Yeah, I agree. I want to do a section on players now. I really want to talk about Declan Rice. He sent me his numbers. Thank you for these, Graham. 79 touches in the game for Rice, 96% pass accuracy, 67 passes complete. You can see them all there. 24 final third entries, 5 tackles won. I thought off the ball, you saw us chasing a game and we were leaving ourselves quite exposed. I mean, Adama Traore could have won it at the end, but Declan Rice, and with William Saliba's help as well, I thought was immense at covering ground, and the rest of these stats look superb as well. Declan Rice was fantastic. I thought Eddie Nketiah's impact was superb. My favourite Eddie Nketiah performance in an Arsenal shirt. I thought the way he backed into defenders, his hold-up play, the goal he takes, it's not easy. It looks easy, but it's not. I thought he was sublime, and he probably, in fact, definitely deserves a much better segment on this show than me just saying he was great. And actually, I think he deserves some real praise. You know what? Let me know in the conversation below if you'd like an in focus on Eddie Nketiah and how he's improved, because I've been really impressed with him.
Be honest here. I watched your excellent preview.
Yeah.
And you wanted Trossard down the middle, didn't you?
I did, and I got it massively wrong, and I was really happy when he was starting. The thing I'd say is, you know, it's one game, and if you showed me Trossard's best 10 performances for Arsenal and Nketiah's best 10 performances for Arsenal, I think Trossard sort of blows him away in that. Yeah. But in this game, there's no doubt Eddie Nketiah did far more than Trossard. I thought Trossard was poor, actually. Yeah. But yeah.
Just coming back to Declan Rice, there's 2 things about him that I'll add to the numbers that you provided there. Really great numbers. First half, he was breaking forward, actually making runs into the box, offering an option going forward, as well as his progressive carries. I thought he was very good in that role. But what I noticed second half, because he's been playing on the left-hand side, hasn't he? So the moment we flipped to the 3-2-5 and Partey went off, Zinchenko came on.
He had to drift right.
He drifted right, and he looked very comfortable on the right-hand side. So I saw a player there, was comfortable playing left side, right side, he's a fantastic footballer. He coped with that quite comfortably, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he really, really did. Now, we touched on Eddie Nketiah. Credit to him, credit to Rice. There's two players I want to talk about, Fabio Vieira and Kai Havertz. I want to talk about Fabio Vieira first because I think there's two things. Fabio Vieira's performance, it was very easy for anyone to notice he was very good. Why? Because I think he got on the ball, he showed an urgency, he was combining with players, he was very involved. He was saying, give me the ball, let me try and do something, and he did. Kai Havertz, we keep hearing about this off-the-ball stuff, and it's not just fans. I kind of was saying, I was a bit frustrated in the full-time show, I was saying, I don't like this patronising, you don't get what he does, you don't get what he does. But I do think that is almost fueled by Arteta saying the things that I'm going to read out in a minute in his quotes that make you think, well, maybe it is the team not helping him as much as it is him not helping the team. Hold that thought on Kai Havertz. Let's talk about Fabio Vieira first. I'm going to go to my trusty tactical pad, as I always do. And of course, I want to show you the Vieira assist. Where is it? Nketiah goal. Here we go. And all I want to do, there's not much analysis to this. I just want to show you what a brilliant ball it is. And unfortunately, I've got Eddie in an offside position. So that's unfair. Or actually, maybe I'll fix that in a little bit. But the other thing I want to show is, here's Vieira pulling wide, Martinelli coming more central, and combinations, rotations already. But he gets this ball and he just takes it out of his feet. And that ball, I will never be able to do it justice on this tactical pad. The whip he gets on it. I have a seat. I'm going to be able to show you my seat. I have a seat up there, high and up there, along the goal line. So I had an amazing view of the bend on that ball and what he did. The fact that ball didn't look on, but he took it and he just whips it and he puts it on a plate for Nketiah. And it wasn't the first time he nailed his pass like that. There was another ball in a similar area where he tried to lift it in beyond to Saka. Do you remember when Saka chests it and then Bassi? It's all in the same movement. Bassi then gets injured and stays on the floor. We play and then we score that goal. Immense from Fabio Vieira. So great to see that. De Bruyne-esque. He came on and said, give me the ball, make it happen. But he did another thing in this game. Help if this opens. There we go. So, Fulham. He shows the underlap. So here's Martinelli. Now Kivior is providing an option. So Vieira doesn't have to say, give me the ball here, because what's the point? Kivior can occupy that space. He recognises that. So he makes the dart into that space and Tete comes across, fouls him, penalty. It's very, very good. It's very David Silva-esque. David Silva used to do it so often for the Centurions, for that Man City team. Him and De Bruyne, either side, underlap, because they hold the width. That means the space is somewhere in those central areas, and Vieira attacks it, does brilliantly take a touch, draws the foul, stonewall penalty. Brilliant from Vieira. But it's not the first time we've seen it. Again, he comes off the bench this time because Xhaka's feeling unwell against Wolves. And 0-0, we're struggling to get a goal. We're in the second half. He does the same thing. Zinchenko gets the ball, gives it wide to Jesus. This is last season, by the way, if I didn't specify. Jesus cuts inside, again alternating because Martinelli comes central. Jesus has come wide, lots of rotations. And Vieira understands the underlap, takes a touch, and just lifts it over the keeper into Odegaard for the goal. So he's been doing this. This is worked on. This is a part of his game plan. And he does not... No one in the squad at the moment has done or is doing it the way the way Vieira is. Havertz certainly isn't. Xhaka was doing a little bit last season, but I think Vieira's got that goal, that kind of cultured left foot, that creativity in the final third to really make a lot out of it. And I think there's a real chance as the season grows, if Vieira continues to play this way, we're going to see him doing a lot more of this, and it could be a real weapon for Arsenal.
I think what I liked about the way you brilliantly described the way he whipped that ball in, what he did first of all was he showed his aggression, because he won the ball back before he then gets it again and he whips it in. He was doing things that Havertz wasn't doing when he was on the pitch. He was more forward thinking. He was sort of like playing the ball forward more than urgent, taking brave decisions. Havertz was more the safer sort of option. He was making the underlapping run, but when he got the ball, he was neat and tidy. But
he was unlucky not to get an assist.
He wasn't
because he was offside for Odegaard.
Of course, but he wasn't. It's risk-free reward football.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Vieira does. Sometimes he might not come off. But I think we've seen the potential, and you described that Silva comparison. Obviously, he'd do well to be anywhere near the level of that guy.
Oh, wow.
But you can understand. I understand exactly what you mean. And he was that underlapping run. He noticed that straight away. Him and Martinelli had a sort of like immediately sort of like they had an understanding when he came on the pitch. And Martinelli looked slightly better when he came on the pitch. but it was his runs, his probing, his ability to sort of like be brave and to recognise openings, which I think helped change that game.
Absolutely, and I think this is also a moment to say where we've been critical of Arteta for the 11 and how it lacks fluidity and the combinations aren't right. He also recognised in this game that Vieira was the sub to make, and that made a real difference.
Yeah, a lot of people when he came on, actually, James, weren't so sure, were they? The only thing I was saying, Havertz's defence in the first half. The second half, when Vieira comes on, he's in the 3-2-5 with Zinchenko inverting from the left. The whole team looked better. First half, Havertz is in the formation where Partey's the one inverting. It didn't look so good on the eye, whatever you say about the stats, and it wasn't working so well. He came on when the shape was better, 3-2-5 was better. But for all that, he showed his talent, and he was superb.
He did. So it brings me on to the Havertz thing. So why isn't Havertz doing that? Just make the runs. Just when Martin gets that ball, darting beyond. If you don't get it, at least you're taking a defender away. That's what I keep thinking. Now, he was offside for one of them, where he does kind of make that kind of run, and he squares it really well for Odegaard. He's patient, and he's unfortunately slightly offside, because otherwise that's a really nice assist. So I do kind of give him, and Martinez should have scored against Palace, and that could be another assist. So he's been maybe a little unfortunate in that kind of way. I thought Havertz was really poor in this game, but Arteta's not only defending him, but also explaining that I don't think he's even expecting that from Havertz. So here's what I mean, or maybe he is. Help me understand this, people. Here's the quote from Arteta on Havertz after the game. In terms of whether, Arsenal fans will warm to him, we'll start to see what he brings. Arteta said, yes, I think so. I think he's already done some really good things, and it was tough for him in certain moments. He got in some great areas again, and the ball didn't arrive. Key bit there, the ball didn't arrive. And he had a lot of situations. He should have scored a lot of goals already this season, and that's the thing that is missing there. Now, I can't think of a load of big chances Havertz is missing games. So I don't know what he means by that.
I'll tell you what I think he means. I think you have to understand, why he bought Havertz, whether we agree with it or not. Last season, Granit Xhaka was superb in that left-sided number 8 role. Great runs, but he knew when to drop back. He got into the box, right? But I don't think Mikel saw Granit last year as a finisher.
Yeah.
So he wants a left-sided number 8 who's going to arrive in the box and be on the end of things. In his quote there, to score goals. Yeah. That's why he's got him. Because he's a forward, isn't he? He's got a forwards mentality. So he wants to convert him into this left-sided number 8, who's when the number 9 drops out, is going to make a run in, or even be a second, or overload the box, a second forward. Someone who's going to be there to score goals. And I think he sees him as a more natural goal scorer at number 8 than, say, Granit Xhaka.
But surely, you're not wrong. And actually, this stat proves it. This is from Opta Joe. This is from 18th of June 2023, as you can see. With 334, Kai Havertz has made the second most off-ball runs into the opposition penalty area. That was last season. Only Haaland got more with 349. So only Haaland made
got slightly more goals, didn't he?
What's that?
Haaland got slightly more goals.
A couple more, I think. So there you go. He's invading the penalty area, and only Haaland is doing it more than him, more off-the-ball runs into the area than Kai Havertz. So that tells you what his game's meant to be.
And that tells you why Arteta wants him in the team.
But surely we need to see more on the ball still. We need to see him show more when he gets it, show more conviction, show more, it's not like the ball's coming into the box and I keep thinking, oh, Havertz should have done better there. It's not really even getting to him. So I'm just a little lost here because without the ball, when we had Xhaka, we drop into a 4-4-2 shape. And that made sense because Xhaka was a natural central midfielder alongside Partey.
Can't do that.
Now we've torn apart our central midfield. Yeah. Rice and Havertz are in for Partey and Xhaka. And it just doesn't, I don't get it. I think maybe in time Arsenal can evolve to this. And I'm not writing anyone off yet. I'm not writing anything off yet.
The amazing thing is, James, he's got 2 number 8s. What do you want from your left-sided number 8? Do you want someone like Havertz who makes that underlapping run, maybe good on the duels but not defensive, but he could get on the end of things? Or do you want someone like Fabio Vieira or Trossard or Smith Rowe who would play the role differently, who would, similar role to how Martin Odegaard plays it on the right-hand side. Odegaard is that player who gets up to support the right-hand side, but he's always looking to get on the ball and then unlock a defence, isn't he? Well, you don't see Havertz doing that, do you?
No, but my answer is I want neither. What do you want? Declan Rice. I want Declan Rice as the box-to-box. Go back to last year's system. He can drive forward. He's a very good ball carrier. He's been effective from that left attacking 8 role for West Ham in the past. Zinchenko's there to play make from that position. So you've got Zinchenko left, Ødegaard right. Let Rice get forward, and then off the ball he tucks in next to Partey. And that is a really difficult midfield to play through.
Yeah.
That's my answer. In other games, you could maybe go with Vieira for sure. Maybe Smith Rowe. But
what do you want next week against Man United?
Rice, Partey, Ødegaard, midfield 3. Last year,
like we had against Man City in the Community Shield final.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go into the roundup stats, Graham. Take it away.
Right, James.
Any positives? Let's see what we got.
Right, closing stats for this week, James. Arsenal have kept just 4 clean sheets from 21 Premier League games at the Emirates Stadium since the start of last season. Of the 17 teams to participate in the competition each of the last 2 seasons, only Fulham, Saturday's opponents, with 3 have kept fewer clean sheets at home in the Premier League. Arsenal have kept only 1 clean sheet in their last 8 Premier League home games at the Fulham. Wow. More positively, they are now unbeaten in their last 11 Premier League meetings with Fulham, winning 8 and drawing 3. Whilst at home, Arsenal haven't lost to Fulham in 31 games now, winning 24 and drawing 7. 14 of the last 17 goals Arsenal have conceded in the Premier League at Emirates Stadium have been scored in the second half. We might be conceding goals in the first minute, but we're also leaking them in the second half of games. On the day that Bukayo Saka set the new record for consecutive Premier League appearances for the club, in his 83rd consecutive game, he scored his 3rd goal in his last 4 appearances. Saka has now scored as many Premier League goals with 33 as Mesut Ozil for the club.
Wow.
And finally, James, although Arsenal failed to win, as we've talked about, they created the most XG this weekend of any team in the Premier League, 3.26.
There you go. So what is the problem, everyone? Let us know in the comment section below. Are you following the eye test? Are you following the metrics and the numbers and the stats? Which is it? Where do you put more stock? Should we be being patient, understanding that maybe we made some errors on the goals, we've maybe been a bit unfortunate with some, and ultimately, actually, we keep playing this way, we're going to win more games than lose? Is that the way you're seeing it? Do you see it as more controlled? Do you see it as not as fluid, but a bit more contained? Or do you go, we just conceded 2 goals to Fulham, and we look like we had to work really hard to score goals where last season wasn't a problem? The minute Zinchenko, Vieira came in, we flipped something more similar to last year, the chances started coming, and Arsenal played with an urgency that resembled some of the brilliant football we saw last season. I don't know. I think I'm more leaning towards the eye test and the fact that I'm just not feeling this right now with Arsenal. But let us know. Graham, what do you think? Eye test or stats?
I want us to go back to how we were playing last time. I think I made it perfectly clear in the video in today's show. The eye test for me tells me we're not playing so well. And I think it's because the players are not familiar with the system. I understand the problem we had. Be interesting to see what happens to Gabriel now, because I think there's talk where Gabriel might be leaving before the end of this window. If he stays, I want him back in the team next week against Man United and Zinchenko at left back. But the stats, you are right, the stats, we've proved that the stats today have showed that the team is improving in this system. But you have to say, we played Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace and Fulham. Do you think that we'd be looking at the eye test and the stats and having the same sort of debate when we're playing Man City, Liverpool and Man United? That's the point.
Fair questions. Let us know in the comment section below, everyone. Hit the like button, subscribe to AFTV and check out all the content that's come out since the Fulham game and what will be coming out this week. Some really exciting content. Of course, we'll be working with United Viewer and others ahead of the Manchester United game. It's a big one, and it is a chance for Arsenal to put this result to bed and get everyone's confidence up going into the international break. Let's hope they do it. Let's hope they do the job, and we'll be back next Monday to talk about it. See you in a bit.